We have done our build stage or our sealing stage of our French polishing on the back of this guitar. Now we are moving on to polishing. Polishing is essentially a cycle, and we're going to charge the pad like we did before. We're going to put it inside of our linen, wrap it up, squeeze it out, and then we are going to do some straight strokes, much like we did on the sealing. But the difference is that we are going to go very light strokes just like we did, but we're going to go until we feel it get a little sticky, and the linen is going to change the feel of that. So when it starts to get sticky, and that'll be after a couple of passes, we will lubricate. And we are going to lubricate with extra virgin olive oil. With a bottle this size, it will last us about 160 years of doing guitars nonstop with as much oil as we're going to use. We use almost nothing. I mean, we use a tiny drop, and I'll show you in just a moment. So then we have the oil on our muneca. Then we are going to take the muneca and swirl. So we take the oil, we use it as a lubricant, and we swirl. We're going to swirl with a light to light medium touch, and we want to keep moving around and keep moving around, keep moving around, because we don't want to build up heat. Heat is the enemy of shellac. We really want to keep heat to a minimum, but we want to put just enough pressure to help spread out what we've just laid down. Then we are going to keep swirling. We're going to swirl, try to be methodical about how we swirl, where we swirl. We want to make sure that we have good coverage everywhere. Once we feel that swirl start to get sticky, then we are going to go in straight motions with that same pad. We're not going to recharge it. We're just going to go straight and try to take all those swirl marks out. Okay, so again, charge the pad, straight strokes. Once it gets sticky, oil up the muneca, swirl it until it just starts to get sticky, then straight strokes. We will consider those 5 parts a cycle, and we're going to do somewhere between 3 and 6 cycles per polishing stage. And then after this, we'll do something called leveling and then come back to polishing. And we can do this as many times as we want until we get the build that we're looking for. And we'll go through that cycle right now and see how we end up and see how many of these phases that we want to do. So I'm going to charge this, but I'm going to do it away from the guitar. We have our pad. I changed my pad. The old pad was getting a little ratty after our seal stage. Put this on here. Press that. Not much came out because that's its first charge on a brand new inner pad. There we go. Squeeze it, squeeze some of that out. Put that inside. We're going to wrap it up. We are going to squeeze it in a twisting motion like this. There. Squeeze it till we see it, and then let it recede into it. And now we will use this pad. Just like before. On our seal stage. And I can really see it developing a vapor trail behind it. It's impossible to overstate just how little material is necessary for this French polish method. Whether it's shellac or oil, use less than you think is necessary. Almost every problem my students have come to me with over the years has stemmed from too much rather than too little. So use very little material and trust the repetitive, slow nature of this process to get you where you need to be in the end. Light touch. Not much to it. Full width. And the side's dry already, so I'll come right back to it. things are flashing off quite well. I'm on my third trip across the guitar on this one charge. If you pay attention, you can see and hear where I'm applying a little bit more pressure as this pad is drying out through this process. And it's drying out pretty well by the time I get back to it. Now on my fourth trip, I'm starting to feel a little bit of that stickiness. Not a lot, but a little bit. And it's starting to grab just a little bit, which it's still wet. And it's a little moist. I can feel that. So we'll see if I can do a fifth pass. Not quite. It's feeling like it's sticking, and it's a little dry right here in the middle. Okay, I'm feeling like I need to add that oil about now. Let's see if we can see. You can kind of see that reflection there. Getting a good build. You can see a little bit of reflection. You can definitely see the reflection of the light in there. Things are starting to get a little smooth, and I can really tell that there's a finish on it. And now we're going to make it cloudy. We are going to use so little of this oil, it's ridiculous. I don't even know. I'm not sure I can get a dab on there. Let's see. I'll put my glove up to it. Just really a drop is all we need. Put the cap back on. And we want to come into the swirling motion kind of softly like we did those straight strokes. Want to come into it. And as we go along, you will feel some ridges in there from the streaks that we were developing. Although you probably didn't even realize you were developing them. You can feel them better than you can see them. And as you come across this, you'll feel those ridges start to flatten, and it'll get a little smoother. And when I say a tiny dab of oil, I mean it is really that. It is just so super small. Such a small drop. If you're using an eyedropper, one drop is almost too much. That's how little. If you get too much oil on, you will definitely want to get rid of it. Take a towel or a wipe and get that off of there pretty quickly. The swirling motion, one, is going to make your arm feel like it's going to fall off, and two, should be done sort of quickly. So this is truly the polishing part, where we are using the pressure and the friction to spread our shellac around. Don't spend a lot of time in one place, move around quickly, and try to keep track of where you were. I'm going to switch hands. And we want to keep swirling until we feel it start to get sticky. And if you slow down and it gets sticky, that doesn't count. Change your arm position, your elbow position, your shoulder position. However you can get comfortable doing this and maintaining your pressure and speed. If you spend too long in one place, you're going to end up burning a hole in that finish. So we don't want to undo anything that we've done so far. Pretty light, just hard enough that you can feel the surface of the guitar. And maintain a good even pressure, and that will be enough to move that shellac around and into slightly more even swirls. I'm on my third trip around the guitar now with these swirls. Not feeling it stick just yet. Oh, there was one little one. Not sure that didn't have anything to do with the operator error though. Okay. Left hand. Your finish should start to look a little more even at this point, albeit a bit cloudy. You can definitely see those oil streaks, swirl marks in there. Okay, fourth trip around the guitar. It's definitely starting to get an even more polished look, but I can definitely see all those swirls too. So, at this point you should feel like you're really getting somewhere, because man, we're making some progress. There, oh. Can you hear that? That is my sticky. Yep, definitely. All right, so now it's time to take this and go back and forth on it. And we are going to go back and forth like we did before with the application process, but this is going to be much stiffer. Put more pressure down. Now we're going to polish with the grain and attempt to take some of those swirl marks out that we just put in there. Now I'm going to do this until I don't see those swirl marks anymore and most of my cloudiness is gone, and I'm almost there. And I want to do that, make sure that the pad is dry. The wrist is a good indicator, back of the hand is good. You can also put it on your cheek, and I can tell that that is getting pretty dry. Not much shellac left in that one. Okay. Ooh-wee. Man, this back is looking pretty. I love it. There's some really cool olive tones, the purples, the blacks. The browns are super shimmery. I think this is looking good. And we're only on cycle number 1. All right, so just finishing cycle 1. Hopefully you guys have got that down. We'll review it real quick. Charge the inner pad. Put it in here. Squeeze it till it peeks out, and then we'll let it retreat. We'll do straight strokes, super light, trying to get that build. And we'll go back and forth on the guitar, and we'll go side to side until we start to feel it get a little bit sticky. Then a teeny drop of oil. And then swirl, swirl, swirl until you can't lift your arm anymore, till it starts to feel sticky. And once you feel that swirl start to get sticky, then we start going back and forth on it, and we push those swirls and we polish those swirls with the grain until we feel that pad to get dry on our hand, cheek, however you want to test it. So that's a cycle. I've just completed 1. I want to do somewhere between 3 and 6 per cycle before I level it. All right, now I'm going to go for number 2. Charge the pad. Push it up against the bottle to get a little bit squeezed out and distribute it through the pad. Put the pad inside the linen. Wrap it up. Muneca. I think that means doll. And if you can see that, it looks a little bit like a spooky doll. And then we squeeze, and I see it. We back off the squeeze now that we've got it distributed throughout the linen. Now we can go ahead and start another cycle. Okay, now that we're starting this build process, what do? We go lightly, right? Lightly. And now that we are going on top of a fairly glossy surface, you should be able to see that flash happening pretty efficiently and obviously. Feel that side? It's already dry. That's exactly what we want. We want that getting applied so thinly that it is already dry by the time we get back to it. It's perfect. Yep. All right, starting our 3rd trip across the guitar. Cycle 2, 3rd trip across the guitar. You know, it's not a bad idea to keep track of your cycle on a piece of paper like a tally. It is real easy to get lost in this because it is a process. It's a lot of counting. And I've never done it talking before, so it's kind of distracting, and I have to keep reminding myself where I'm at. It's interesting. Hopefully you guys can follow along, maybe as well as I can, or maybe better. Okay, 4th trip across the guitar, I think. Could be wrong. I'm still seeing it flash off a little bit, so I didn't want to stop yet. It's not really sticking, not quite yet. wave that off, get that evaporated. All right, now I lost count. 6 trips across the guitar? I don't know. It's enough so that I don't feel bad about stopping whenever this gets dry. And I might want to think about either starting in the middle or starting on the other side on the next cycle to make sure I'm getting this distributed evenly. If you have to put a little bit more pressure down to get yourself feeling like you see a vapor trail, that's fine. As long as you're not sticking. If you start to stick, then we switch to oil. And because we are putting it down so thinly, it doesn't take long to evaporate, and it actually goes faster than if we were trying to lay down a heavy coat and let it dry and dry and dry. It takes forever. But at these micro levels, man, it just flashes off and evaporates, and we can get a nice build pretty quickly. All right, that felt like it was sticking over here, so time for the oil. Just gonna use my finger as a dropper. And start to swirl. I still want to feel a little bit of resistance and feel like I am flattening some of those ridges. Not as many as the last time though. I'm feeling it, and you can hear it start to stick. But it's not really dry. Yeah, I guess it is. It's a little bit dry. Let me see if I can get... Nope, not going to get one more trip out of it. Okay, start my straight lines. I am really starting to see a reflection. Starting to see the detail in my fluorescent lights above me in the reflection, not just a kind of a faint bar of light. So we're progressing exactly like we should. Hopefully you guys are following along and feeling good about where you're at. Alright, we are totally dry, so it's time to recharge this pad for polish phase number 1, cycle number 3, coming up. Oh, one note about the oil. If I hadn't mentioned it before, when we use the oil, our goal is to not let the oil become part of the finish. It is if we let that happen, if we don't take it off at the end of this, it could become part of the finish. And if it does that, our finish is going to be very, very soft. We don't want that. So the extra virgin olive oil is pure enough that it should rise up to the top at the end of this, or even a couple of days, a day or two after we're done, and get cloudy again, and then we can, it's called spiriting off. We'll spirit it off. We'll use alcohol to remove that oil. So that's why we want to use as little oil as possible. We do not want to leave any on here, otherwise it will cloud it and it'll obscure any of this sheen that we've got going on. All right, there we go. Pass number 2 of cycle 3 of the first phase of polishing. Add a little bit more in this one, so it was a little wetter. Want to give it plenty of time to dry so I don't wipe off the finish that I just put on. There we go. That's flashing off nicely. Yeah. I am only doing the back right now. I am not going to video and walk you through the sides. The sides are going to be done exactly the same as this. The only difference will be that some of the contours are a little goofy. So you may need to approach the sides as a couple of different sections. So maybe you do the upper bout into the waist and then the lower bout. The back is just easier to demonstrate on. Since it's a large surface, you kind of have a better visual of how things progress and how the flashing works. Works much better on the back than on the sides to video anyway. All right, well, almost at that point to where I'm getting sticky. Felt it a couple times. Not quite, but almost. All right, we are sticky. Bring out the oil. Just one drop, drop and a half. There we go. That's all we need. We're ready to go. Swirl City. I'm gonna start in the middle this time. If you're doing this and you feel it get more lumpy or more resistance fairly soon in the process, try backing off your pressure and see if that helps a little bit. Sometimes if you go at it too hard early on, it starts to actually melt the prior coat and you can end up going through it and melting what you just did. So be careful of that. Okay, I took about 4 trips across with the swirls and I felt we are starting to get a little sticky. So now I'm going to go straight, get my swirl marks out of there until this pad is dry. And that will complete cycle number 3. And I think I'm going to do 4 full cycles. And then we'll come back to leveling. I don't feel like I need to walk you guys through another full cycle. So I'm going to call this good for the polishing stage for right now, and I'll check in with you guys just before I go to leveling. Okay, I've done my 4th cycle of swirling, and now I'm gonna drop my muneca in here, my pad, somewhat airtight container, and after 4 polishing cycles, show you where we're at. See if you can pick up that reflection. You can kind of see the plans getting reflected off the wall. You can just about read some of them. And the light, I can now make out details of that fluorescent light rather than it just being a white blobby line. So this is looking good. I'm really happy with the way this has come along so far. All right, so we are gonna cut this video here and let this dry for 10-15 minutes, and then I'm gonna come back and we can work on leveling.